A lot of us changed our clocks ahead. We sprung forward. That was probably the only sign of spring we had in Atlantic Canada. Kasia Bodurka with you here. I'm in for Chris Murphy on this Monday morning. Happy Monday, 10 days until spring, including today. That's exciting. All right, so have a look at what we can expect for this afternoon. Temperatures a little bit chillier than yesterday. It's going to feel a lot like yesterday, except there's going to be less moisture in the air today because we've got high pressure. So sun and clouds, really. But then your next system, I'm going to show you how that's playing out. So here's your high pressure. That's great for today. Tomorrow morning, our next clipper system moves in, and you'll know that the bulk of the moisture is happening north of the warm front. So the majority of what's going to fall is going to be snow, but we're talking about 1 to 3 centimeters of snow, not huge amounts. And then temperatures are actually going to boost up a little bit. Speaking of boosting temperatures, we have weeks and, talking about localized flooding and ice. This is really impressive. Total ice coverage of our Great Lakes, it's now 90%. And the last time it was this much covered by ice was back, a good 35 years ago, close to 35 years ago. So near record amount of ice over the Great Lakes. And all this to say, it's been cold. It's been a very cold season. We're still seeing some flurries along the shores of Huron. Georgian Bay, not so much. This is just a weak clipper system that's making its way out of the region. But you can see Cornwall, areas like that along the 401 corridor has been picking up a little bit of snow. Even in southern Ontario, the GTA picked up some snow through the late evening. Here's another system that's going to be affecting us. That's going to be overnight into your Tuesday. So it's just going to be system after system to the north of Ontario and Quebec. How much snow? Again, a general 1 to 3 centimeters, so not a whole lot. For the city of Ottawa, we're expecting a snowfall story, and Montreal. That's going to be through the overnight. But your mixing line Tuesday throughout the day, we could be picking up some mixing, a mix of rain and snow if you're in Georgian Bay, so cottage country. And I know a lot of you are up there because of March break. So happy March break, by the way, for some of you who are celebrating or enjoying time off, right? This afternoon, here's a look at your temperatures across the prairie provinces and the west. Prince George, a mix of sun and clouds. Hey, by the way, we've got a nice drying trend for you in southern parts of BC because I know it's been raining day in, day out, day in, day out. So that's all changing to the north now. We're expecting a little bit more activity. The big story for you across the prairie provinces, have a look at these temperatures. I mean, this is just amazing. For you in Calgary, yesterday you were closer to 10 degrees, something like 11 degrees, but today 4, which, hey, I'll take that. But then Regina 0, Winnipeg 2, so really great temperatures to look forward to across the prairie provinces. And the really good news is that these temperatures are going to be sticking around for some time. All right, into your long range on your Tuesday, looking at more seasonal conditions in the west. Areas of low pressure are starting to affect the north coast, as you can see. And of course, we're going to have more about your long range forecast and intense weather coming up in Force of Nature Extended. We start off in Brazil. Take a look at this. It's a dust devil. They're caused by the standard warm air meets colds. Fortunately, they usually don't get big enough to do any damage, but they are fun to look at. Could it be? Is this a sign of spring? Well, there are a few of us who wouldn't mind an endless winter. Many Canadians are more than done with the season. And after what's been a longer, colder, and snowier one in recent years, many of us are now looking for anything that says the season is over. But as most of us know, the transition from winter to spring is 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And snow was falling in the Avalon on Sunday, thanks to a system from the U.S. And it's not quite over yet for Atlantic Canada, and we'll tell you more about that throughout the hour. Here's a sign of spring most of us can do without. It's pothole season, and this killer pothole trapped at least one driver in Kitchener on Saturday. Roads in general throughout southern Ontario have taken a beating this year because of colder than normal temperatures. Our forecast for spring, major road repairs for just about all of us. Temperatures in southern Ontario finally climbed back to seasonal levels this past weekend. And for the next day or so, it's actually going to feel as if spring is really around the corner. Some places might even be flirting with double digits, but don't get too comfortable. Temperatures will be bouncing between winter and spring for the entire week. Skiers and boarders, take heart. Winter is not quite over yet. Snow is falling in Banff on the weekend, so plenty of skiing action ahead. We have more on active weather across the country coming up very shortly, and what kind of temperatures can you expect Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm not going to lie. Pretty much until this moment, I was afraid of CrossFit. So much better. Maybe it is something that we could all try, right? If you haven't done so. High pressure in the east, but I want to take your attention to this clipper system to the north of Ontario. That could be bringing us a general 1 to 3 centimeters of snow. A rain-snow mix, though, for areas like Kingston to the nation's capital, and then through the overnight, it's more so a snowfall story in Montreal. That's pretty much it for active weather today. It's not going to be, a big weather day today, but into your long range, there is something I want to tell you about Wednesday into Thursday. Temperatures much better across the prairie provinces. And really why is because we're under the influence of these warm fronts. North of it, though, we could be seeing some flurry activities. More on this weather story coming up.
Thanks.
Oh, Nathan. Okay, if you are in the east now, here's some ideas for you for the March break season. March break for a lot of us in Ontario, parts of Atlantic Canada, except parts of New Brunswick, I believe I should say. Not bad weather for today. It's actually really quite dry across the east, but this next weather maker that's going to be bringing us a general 1 to 3 centimeters of snow tomorrow in the east for you in Ontario and parts of Manitoba. You'll be picking up some snow as well. Northern Ontario, 1 to 3 centimeters of snow. The wind story for you in the east, not so bad really. With high pressure in place, winds are actually subsiding and behind that other system. But note with this next clipper system, like I mentioned, with your 1 to 3 centimeters of snow, you're seeing the reds here, and that means winds sustained between 40 and 50 kilometers per hour, especially along coastal regions. So could be a little on the windier side for tomorrow. As far as your snowfall totals go with this next incoming system, picking up 5 to 10 centimeters of snow for you in the Avalon, lesser amount throughout the rest of the island the further west you go. To the Ontario story, where the main point of this illustration here is that it's been very cold. So much snow, so much so that we have 90% ice coverage over the Great Lakes, and it's been close to 35 years since we have seen this much ice coverage. In fact, it broke a record back in '79. It was 92% covered the Great Lakes. So yeah, it's been really impressive in terms of the cold. Does that impress you? I don't know, but we're about 10 days away from spring, including today. Okay, so we still are seeing some flurries along the 401 corridor east of the city of Toronto. So places like Kingston, Brockville, into the nation's capital, you're picking up some snow. Windsor, southwestern Ontario, saw some freezing drizzle earlier this morning as well, and that's just dissipating. Our next weather maker is moving in this afternoon, 1 to 3 centimeters of snow to the north. Because of that warm front, though, southern Ontario, you're under the influence of warmer weather, right? A southwesterly flow, and that means temperatures around 5 degrees, closer to seasonal. In fact, a hair above seasonal with general snowfall amounts to the north, 2 to 5 centimeters. Like I mentioned, it's been windy across the west, and because of that, we have had exceptionally warm temperatures. I hope you enjoyed that. Today, also quite warm, but how long will it last? That answer is coming up. Expecting for Tuesday, 30 in Cancun tomorrow. And if that didn't entice you enough, have a look at this daytime high that we are expecting for Tuesday, 30 in Cancun tomorrow. All right, it shouldn't be too bad in Newfoundland, Labrador. We're talking about some pretty good roads there. However, if you're in Manitoba, parts of the Trans-Canada Highway could be impacted by just a light dusting of snow. This is all part and parcel of the same system that's bringing snow to northern Ontario as well throughout the day. This is another clipper system that's moving just across the country. Relatively weak, though. We're talking about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow. Parts of the 401 corridor also impacted Ontario into Quebec as well. So be careful out there on the road. Road trip, if you plan on taking one over the next few days, we would love to see your shots. It can be so scenic across the country. Upload them to theweathernetwork.com and don't forget to use the hashtag road trip. First stop, Brazil. Warm air meets cold and a little dust so you can actually see what's happening, and you've got a dust devil. Fortunately, they're rarely dangerous and they're just fun to look at. After a long, cold, snowy winter, many of us are looking for signs of spring anywhere we can find them. How about this one? A melting creek and running water. Or how about this? Likely the more typical sign of spring after a harsh winter. The road repair bill through a large part of the country is going to be a big one this year, and so is the repair bill for damaged cars. On the upside, it might actually feel as if spring is around the corner this week. Above seasonal highs are expected in the GTA. Southwestern Ontario could be nudging with double digits. Even the prairies will be shaking off the extreme chill. But as most of us know, the transition from winter to spring is never a smooth one. The snow was falling in the Avalon on Sunday thanks to a system from the U.S. And it's not over yet for Atlantic Canada. The next target, the Maritimes. We'll tell you about that coming up later in the hour. This might give the die-hard skiers and boarders a reason to smile. It was snowing in Banff over the weekend, and while mild weather is in the forecast for Alberta, resorts say they're ready for a really good spring season. Now, this accident wasn't the result of weather. In fact, the actual cause isn't known yet. What is known, at least one car ran into a tree, dislodging a beehive and a lot of angry bees. 2 people had to be treated in hospital for hundreds of bee stings. Now, I'd love it if you would stay with us. We're talking about your active weather across the country over the next few days because, of course, it's March break for some of us. There's a sign of spring. The snow melts in the city of Toronto yesterday, even though temperatures didn't even reach over the freezing mark yesterday. It's happening. Signs of spring. So I posed the question in social media, show me your signs of spring, right? Well, our first response came from the Halifax area. Andrew had an extra hour of skiing. So he was out on the slopes enjoying it, daylight savings time, right? Blair in Mississauga, he says, well, his sign of spring is not quietly whimpering at the bus stop this morning. Baby steps, he says, and Robert says there are no signs of spring in the Ottawa area. It snowed last night.
With spring right around the corner, what would you prefer this time of year? Rain or snow? Well, Ray says rain to wash everything away. Take a look at this picture. This actually happened in the same day. First, they were driving through rain. Then they ended up driving through snow. Whiteout conditions almost. Snow as rain makes ice. That's a really good point. Things can get a little slippery at this time of year. Victor says rain as I need a cheap car wash. I agree. I could use a cheap car wash too. And Howie said rain, I don't have to shovel it. That is a really good point, Howie. I think a lot of people are voting with the rain.